It's game day in Fargo, and the Bison are hungry to be back in action. After a disappointing finish to the 2016 season, the herd is focused, driven, and determined. Easton Stick will lead the Bison in his third season as the starter, flanked by another 6 returning starters on offense alone. A new OC promises new wrinkles in this year's attack and a fresh set of eyes leading Stick and company. While an early season injury delivered a tough blow to the Bison defense, they promise they are as strong as ever, returning 9 starters and getting defensive game changers Nick DeLuca and Nate Tangway back. Mississippi Valley State is walking into a hostile environment today as the Bison aim to set a tone.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Boy, if that doesn't get you ready for football, I don't know what will. Hello and welcome into the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show. I am Alex Egan. She is Beth Hool joining me in studio this year. Beth, happy Football Saturday.
Happy Football Saturday. Gosh, it feels like we've been waiting for this forever. Excited to be joining you in studio this year. We have Ryan Gellner out at the Dome this year doing sideline reporting, mixing things up a little bit, keeping it exciting, keeping you guessing, just like Bison football.
That's what they do. They don't make us guess too much on this opponent today. It is going to be a game that will be played.
Yes, there will be football.
Yes, there will be football. There will be football, we think. Well, we're pretty sure. Let's get it out to Ryan Gellner, standing by at the Fargodome. He joins us live on the mezzanine, I believe is what they call it. Ryan, happy Football Saturday to you.
Yeah, we can call it the mezzanine, guys. Welcome to the Fargodome. Starting to fill up here, but I'll tell you what, this has got a little bit of a preseason buzz to it. Fans starting to file into the Fargodome. Mississippi Valley State, they are here. Their bus arrived a couple of hours ago. Took a look around the stadium. They went through a quick walkthrough yesterday. They're back at it today. North Dakota State is North Dakota State. This has got the feeling of an early season football game. A lot of folks don't expect this to be a great football game. But at the same time, football is back in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. It'll be exciting to see how well North Dakota responds out of the gate, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. We'll be checking in with him later on in the show, as well as Brian Shawn and Lee Timmerman. But first, as we were out at the Fargodome, the Bison have some new toys this year, and one really big new toy, and it is a brand new locker room at the Fargodome. And Beth, what do you think of that?
Well, first of all, it's beautiful, to say the least. Certainly an upgrade from what they've had before. You can talk to any of the guys. The first thing they tell you is it smells new, which in football talk means it doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell like the sweaty pads. It doesn't smell like the men before them. Nate Tangway, very excited about that. The second thing they'll tell you, the sound system is phenomenal.
And we've heard some things about the guys saying there are some of the position groups will get in charge of the iPod and the sound system, and so some of the seniors will make sure that they get their music back.
Yes, they bounce back and forth quite drastically between country and then some rap and some other options, and so it's always a battle. We understand that in the sports office. There's always a battle for the TVs for us. So, but this new locker room is huge. This is the kind of stuff that matters to recruits, for better or worse. This is the kind of stuff that matters for recruits. They want to see that you guys are upgrading your program, that you're making steps forward, that you're investing money in these programs. And that's really huge for NDSU because they do. They've got the relaxation room, as you will call it, with the video games and all of that sort of stuff that they can go to. But this is huge. And the part I like best about it, right there across the top, you see attack the process. And that's been a mantra for the Bison for the last several years. And I like seeing that constant reminder.
It is certainly a recruiting arms race. And in that arms race, the best thing you can do is upgrade your facilities. You can win as much as you want. That's all well and fine. But if you don't have the facilities, that's what some of these kids coming out of high school are very interested in, making sure that they have a place that they can call home when they come away from home and go to college. So big ups to NDSU and the Fargodome for making this come to fruition.
Absolutely.
And getting a brand new locker room put in there at the Fargodome. If you get a chance to get inside there, good luck, because it's kind of off limits. So maybe do it during the off season. Let's get right to what we're talking about today. And what we're talking about today is a brand new offensive coordinator. Courtney Messingham has come in from Montana State. Tim Polasek has left and has gone to Iowa. And so it is a brand new offensive coordinator. And what I would like to see out of Easton Stick and this offense are big pass plays. I would love to see Easton Stick air it out like we see here against Illinois State. He had a 3-touchdown
So why
game.
haven't we seen that?
Well, I would like to see it. I think Tim Polasek maybe held the reins a little bit in on Easton. And, you know, the Bison are going to run the football. I get that. They're
But you
going to run the
think
football.
he's capable of that? You think
Absolutely.
Easton can do that?
Absolutely. He has been working hard in the offseason. When we got to talk to him on media day back at the start of fall camp, he has said that all he's been doing is watching film, breaking down film, working on the little nuances of the game. And I think working on those little nuances is what can help him extend the football field and use the weapons that he has on the outside.
And a big part of that has been him working on being quicker in his release. That's a big part of it as well. And he's been working on that a lot this offseason and in the fall camp situation. But like you said, that requires him to be, you know, in sync with his receivers, and that's what I want to see. I want to see who steps up. We know RJ is good. We know that Shep is good. We know who some of these guys are, but you have to see what they can do now, and I want to see who steps up, because time and time again we see that ace receiver who steps up. Well, then everybody knows they're there. Who's going to be that second man who rises in the ranks this year?
And, you know, we talked with Easton about that, and he said, you know, he's got a lot of talent coming back, and that's exactly what he said when we caught up with him earlier in the week.
That's huge. You know, having another year to watch stuff together, to go through the winter, the summer, and get on the same page as far as how we want to run certain routes, what we're going to do against different coverages and things like that, and, you know, what guys like to run against certain looks. And so, yeah, much more comfortable.
Okay, so who is it? Who's the guy who steps up?
Well, obviously, I think the obvious answer is RJ Erzandowski, but I like the transfer coming in from Illinois, and that's Desmond Kane. He has been known to, he's fast. He's very fast. We've seen him out in practice running some sprints. He is fast, so he can be the guy that can.
He's going to be great. He's going to be great, but I want to see Sean Engel. We've heard so much about Sean Engel over the last several years. I want to see Sean Engel. I want to see what he's capable of. I want to see that height. They need that big guy again.
Have no fear. We've been told that Courtney Messingham isn't going to overhaul the entire offense. It's just going to be some new wrinkles. That's really all it is. So the offense isn't going to change. The Bison are still going to run the football. I would just like to see Easton maybe throw it downfield a little bit more than he has in the past. That's going to...
I agree.
I think that's all we're asking for.
Put that on record. We've agreed on something.
We have agreed. That's a first. We are going to step aside. When we come back, we're going to get you a little bit more acquainted with Mississippi Valley State. The Delta Devils making their way to Fargo. That's next here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show. We want to welcome you wherever you're watching the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show, from out there in the western part of Montana into Minnesota, down south into South Dakota. Thank you so much for joining us here in our Fargo studios as Mississippi Valley State and North Dakota State get set to kick off the 2017 season. The third meeting all time between the two programs. NDSU has had decisive wins in both of their first two meetings, a 45-0 win in 2006 and a 58-7 win in 2007.
Yeah. Not to mention the NDSU has won countless home openers for so long. They've been winning home openers since like 1998 or something. It's all great and it's all dandy, but what are we expecting today? Well,
what we can find out. Let's go to the Fargodome. Ryan Gellner standing by with Mississippi Valley State head coach Rick Comegee.
Thank you, guys. Rick Comegee, the head coach of Mississippi Valley State University, good enough to join us just before his team takes the field, actually in the locker room right now. And Rick, no doubt about it, it's a tough test for you guys.
Oh, no doubt about it. You know, they're an excellent football team, #1 in the nation, and big, strong, fast. They got it all. You know, the right timing for the juniors and seniors that, you know, competing together. You know, they've got some gel going there. So, you know, we know our hands are full, but we're going to go out and play because it's done between the lines.
You've put a lot of thought, a lot of game prep into this football game. What do you see as keys for your team? I would assume things like time of possession would be huge for you guys to hold your own here.
There's no doubt. You know, we don't want to hurt ourselves as well. You know, holding penalties or different type of penalties that when we got a drive going, those drives are called back. We want to be able to take advantage of what they give us. You know, we don't want to go for bombs all day long. We want to, you know, chip away and chip downfield and ball control, as you said. And we're hoping our defense can hold up inside because they got a great offensive line, and some running backs can really hit up inside, and that quarterback is outstanding. You know, he's phenomenal with the football. He can run inside and outside, and he can throw the ball as well. So, you know, they got a dual threat in that quarterback. And so we respect this football team, but we know we got to go out there and play. We practice hard. We're trying to, you know, we're working to win the conference. The SWAC conference is what we're working to win. And if we weave through this thing real well and do a good job here, we think we have a shot at our own conference.
All right, best of luck today as you take on the Bison.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ryan, and thanks to Coach Comagee for getting us a little bit of his time as his team gets set to take on the Bison.
They've had a tough stretch already. They flew into Minneapolis, took a bus up today. I mean, it's a journey.
Certainly not the ideal way to travel into Fargo, North Dakota, but this is a team that last year went 1-10. They picked up one win, and get this, they're scheduled to start. They're at NDSU to start, at Southern Illinois in week 2, home against Grambling State University, who won their conference last year and played in the Holiday Bowl, and then at Charleston Southern. And Bison fans, you know what Charleston Southern is from a year ago when they came in and opened up the season at the Fargodome. So
went to overtime.
Yes,
against the
overtime
Bison
game in the Fargodome. So this is a gauntlet to start for Mississippi Valley State. And I guess, you know, we've heard from guys in the Bison program that say iron sharpens iron. Well, you're going to get a lot of iron here at Mississippi Valley State to start the season off. So
yeah, I mean, it's a tough start from off the top. Honestly, though, you know, time and time again, you hear football teams talk about the fact that you have to focus on yourselves. And a lot of times, if you watch my shows throughout the week, you'll hear, I call that coach speak. Come on, you guys. Don't tell me you're not looking at what these guys are doing. But this is one of those instances where I really believe them. NDSU is going to look at themselves internally. They're going to look at what they're doing. And I think they're going to try and take advantage of how they're able to improve upon and build up for that Eastern Washington game. Now, don't get me wrong. They're not looking ahead to Eastern Washington. Right. They're just looking to implement some good behavior, some good habits, if you will, as they get ready for their toughest game of their non-conference.
I think what we're going to see today is a lot of Bison players playing, a lot in the 2 deep, a lot in the 3 deep. We're going to see a lot of players come in.
But see, Alex, I disagree. I think you will see them. I think you'll see a lot of guys come in, but I think you're going to see a lot of these starters, these number ones, because this is their first action. This is their scrimmage, if you will, to open up. And we need to see them, and NDSU needs to see how they all can adapt and click and get things churning here in this new offense with new wrinkles.
Yes, that is true. I thought what was interesting there was that Mississippi Valley State is planning to come in and use ball control. That's running the football. That's what they plan to do. That's kind of the success, or the reason that the Bison have had success over the last several years, is because they have controlled the clock. They have controlled the ball by running the football so much. I think that's interesting. We kind of saw that James Madison did that a little bit in that playoff game in the semifinals last year.
Well, James Madison we cannot compare James Madison to Mississippi.
But I think that the framework is out there. How you're going to beat the Bison is keep the ball away from the Bison offense and don't let the Bison control the football.
And the tough part is people have now seen somebody beat the Bison, so now there's a blueprint.
The blueprint is out there.
I have to tell you, we're certainly excited for this game. Mississippi Valley, I don't know if they're as excited for this game, but some people who are is the tailgating lot. Mike Morgan was out there with them earlier today. Mike, how's it going?
Okay, everybody, thank you so much. We are starting something new this year here in the Bison Tailgate section, and it's called Bison Tailgate Trivia. And here's how you play. I get a couple of contestants. I ask them one question, and if they can answer the question correctly, they will win a $50 gift certificate to either the True Blue Social Club or Lucky's 13 Pub. My first contestant of the year is...
Cindy Ness.
Are you nervous?
Yes. But I'm sure I'll know the answers.
But you got plenty of support, okay? All right. Here's our first question, Cindy. What are the official colors of the North Dakota State Bison? Are they green and yellow, or are they green and gold? Take a look at the question. Okay, any help for the green and yellow, green and gold?
Green and yellow.
Green and yellow is correct. Hey! Congratulations, that's how easy it is. There's your $50 gift certificate to the Lucky's 13 Pub. Thank you very much. All right, that's how easy it is to play. Our next contestant is...
Jay Olson.
Jay, where are you from?
Beulah, North Dakota.
Beulah, minor country, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are you ready to play?
Yep.
Our second question is, the NDSU Bison play their home games right here in the Fargodome. What year was the Fargodome built? Was it 1992 or 1996?
1992.
1992, is he correct?
Yeah!
He is correct! We have some very intelligent players today. Congratulations, Jay, and you win a $50 gift certificate to the True Blue Social Club, which is right across from the Blarney Stone in the West Fargo area. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations to you, Cindy. That's how easy it is. We'll be back a little later on to play this game once again. Bison in a win. See you later.
Gosh, Mike, you get all of the good jobs. Stick with us, guys. We'll be back with more on your Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show.
Welcome back inside our Fargo studios, the Farmers Union Insurance Bison football pregame show. I thought I was going to drop my iPad here. We have got an exciting game to get to today. Mississippi Valley State and NDSU kicking off the 2017 season. We are about a little over half an hour away from kickoff, 40 minutes away from kickoff. Let's get out to the Fargodome, and Ryan Gellner standing by with our Sanford Orthopedics Sports Medicine Injury Report.
Thank you, guys. Dr. Ben Noonan from Sanford Health joins us for the Sanford Injury Report, and we want to talk about, with the warm weather, inside gyms and just outside for young athletes, college athletes, amateur athletes, is heat illness. It's something we hear a lot about. Tell us exactly what heat illness is.
Well, sure, Ryan. Thanks. It's really a constellation from very mild heat fatigue, cramping, all the way up to the one that we as health professionals worry a lot about, which is exertional heat stroke, which really technically is defined as a core body temperature of 40 degrees centigrade or higher and changes in the central nervous system. But it is the one that can result in extremely serious side effects, even up to death.
So, yeah, it's very serious, and it can be very scary when someone feels those symptoms. How do you overcome it? How do you prepare for it? Maybe let's start there. How do you prepare for it?
I think that's the best point, is prevention is the most important thing. And we as a community are getting much better at that. The high school leagues, college organizations, athletic trainers, and we're blessed with having some of the best athletic trainers around here, have really put forth position statements on how to prevent heat illness, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. And the prevention really comes around probably two big things, which is acclimatization. So giving these athletes a chance to get used to exercising in the heat. The body actually adapts very well to it. It changes how it sweats, how well it controls the body temperatures. And most of the high school organizations have come up with plans to allow their athletes to get used to the working out in the summer and getting rid of some of the really rigorous two-a-days, one after another, which the body just can't react from. And then the second is hydration. You know, athletes really need to make sure they're coming in a hydrated condition, and then really keep on top of their dehydration during practices and games. And that's a really individual thing. So I tell my athletes, you really need to pay attention to how your body weight changes over the course of a game or a practice, because there's such variable sweat rates, and you really need to keep on top of that.
And I assume hydration is a big thing after the fact as well. If I don't feel well, I've been in a gym all day, athlete or not, you don't feel well at night or during the event, I assume hydrate and rest are two pretty big things.
Yeah, that's absolutely critical. And if we can't sell you on the point of keeping you safe and healthy, it also affects your performance. There's a lot of evidence that repetitive high-intensity exercise, aerobic exercise, all gets negatively impacted by dehydration. And yes, making sure that you recover that evening or after that practice and are ready for the next one is super critical.
Appreciate it, Doc.
My pleasure.
That is the Sanford Injury Report. Now back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Gellner. Here is the injury report for today. Greg Menard, he got hurt in fall camp, blew out his knee, has undergone surgery. He is out for the season. The good news is he will be eligible for a red shirt and come back next season. Jeff Ilias also suffering from a knee injury. He is expected to be healthy for those conference games.
Yeah, it's really if they need him. He actually got injured the day before Greg Menard, but he has been practicing. He has been working out. He's just not 100% full speed yet. It's kind of why waste somebody that you really need the rest of the season, because he's the go-to tight end there.
He is a very good pass catcher. And Dom Davis, the cornerback, will also be missing today's game, out with a groin injury. So obviously injuries are going to happen, but these are the guys that we are expecting to not play today.
And one person that I think that we should kind of keep an eye out on is just how much Nate Tangway gets involved in here. It is his first game back, 9 months. It's been just over 9 months now that Nate Tanguay has played a football game, and it's going to be interesting to see how much his workload is today. I'm expecting to see him be one of those guys that they maybe ease in and out a little bit more than you would like to see Nate Tanguay in there. But I expect a little bit of rest for him.
We'll get into talking about Nate and Nick DeLuca, both of those guys coming back off of injuries from last year. We'll talk about them a little bit later on in the show. Now, earlier in the year, we have Media Day with the Bison, yes. And that's where we get to go out and talk with all of the guys that we want to, the coaches, get a feel for how the season is going to look.
Reunite after a summer apart.
Very well, yes. And one of the things that we wanted to do this year was add a little levity to the program, and that is
why I'm here.
Where we came up with, was that just jazz hands?
That was jazz hands. That happened. That happened.
We came up with this fun little segment that we have, and it is called Heard This One.
All right, if you're ready, you're losing.
Hello, I'm losing already.
What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef.
What did the 0 say to the 8?
What?
Nice belt. I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it at all. There we go. Good game. Good game, man. Did I win or did you win? You kind of started laughing. I couldn't hold it, man. That was it.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Back inside the Fargodome, where it's North Dakota State and Mississippi Valley State to kick off the 2017 football season. We are live inside the Fargodome. Today's crew that will call the game: Lee Timmerman will do the color, and Brian Sean, of course, will be play-by-play. Brian, let's start with you. It's football season. How awesome is that?
You know, it's time to finally get things kicked off again, and I think it's been a longer fall camp than what NDSU is used to because of no 2 days. They checked in earlier. I think they're getting a little bored. I think they need to play a game, and I think they're excited to get back out on the field because the last time they were here, certainly things did not end the way they wanted to.
Yeah, Lee, North Dakota State, the last time they played, which Brian alluded to, it was a loss for the Bison. They're not used to that. You think that aided them throughout the offseason?
It certainly didn't help. It's nice to have that little extra carrot. But just to kind of follow up a little bit what Brian was talking with, Coach Messingham came over to Brian and I when we were down in the field, came up, shook our hands. You could tell the excitement that he has. He's fired up, and he talked about, you know, he's been in some bigger crowds. He's looking forward to hear the noise here. So for everybody, it's game day, and we're all looking forward to it.
We'll talk a little bit more about the new offensive coordinator in just a little bit. Let's get into the keys to the football game for today's game. And there are some big ones. Things that I want to see this football team do is rotate up front. And it is no secret that the NDSU loves to play more than 5 guys on its offensive line. A regular rotation of 7 or 8 offensive linemen. Try to keep guys fresh. And it's important to keep those starters fresh in this football game. It's a non-conference game, so they'll be able to figure out if redshirt freshman Dylan Reduns can play, if Zach Kubas can fit in. It'll be nice to see Colin Connor slide around in a couple different positions. It's very important from this game moving forward to find out what that rotation up front looks like and see what the combinations work best to keep things inside the trenches. Number 2 on our keys to the game is don't look east, or for that matter, west. Mississippi Valley has won 2 football games in the last 2 years. They averaged just 14 points a game last year. They rushed for just an average of 25 yards a game. That's not real good. This is a game in which NDSU should roll. We know that. The Bison should coast, but that doesn't mean they can look forward or afford to look ahead 1 week, which would be that Eastern Washington game. LT, there's plenty of players and coaches that they want to see and get accomplished today, but they can't look forward quite yet to that trip out west.
No, not quite yet. For the players anyway. The coaches, yeah, they may have been peaking a little bit toward Eastern Washington, but I think the main thing, especially for the starters, it is important for them to get their job done, be efficient, to allow the guys behind them on the 2 deep to play. And then when you get to the 2 deep, they need to be proficient to allow the guys behind them to play. So yes, there are a lot of things to accomplish today, and it all gets done if you play well.
Number 3 on our keys to the game is efficient passing. It is a word that you are going to hear for a long time in this football season. It's the key to keeping the offense on balance, and for that matter, the defense off balance. North Dakota State wants to run the football. That won't change under new offensive coordinator Courtney Messingham, but short, intermediate, quick passes on first and second down. If those passes are completed, that sets up the ground game for the Herd. Brian, the Bison have been working hard on making the passing game much more efficient than it was a year ago. We don't know exactly what efficient passing means. What do you think Courtney Messingham means by that?
Well, for me, I think for them, it's more about just being efficient. And when you talk about being efficient, that means let's not overcomplicate things too much here. Let's just perfect the 4 or 5 schemes we have in the game plan this week and run those really well instead of trying to throw so many different things into a situation where you're trying to read too much and you're not reacting. I think for Courtney Messingham, he just wants his guys to play fast, know what they're all doing out there, and have all the options available so that Easton Stick is not just locking in on either Darius Shepard or R.J. Urzendowski, which I do think happened at times last year. I don't think you'll see that this year. He's got to get 3 through 7 ready to roll as well.
It will be interesting to see how North Dakota State does, what they do offensively. New offensive coordinator. We'll find out shortly. When we come back, well, we look a little bit more towards this football game. When we get closer to action here across the NBC North Dakota Sports Network, this is Bison Football. The Bison, for the first time in a long time, not coming back as national champions, and we'll see how that sounds for North Dakota State. A little bit different. A new segment now we like to call Herdline News. Here is the news that the Bison are involved in this week. There are 7 North Dakota State University players on the preseason team in our Herdline News. Junior running back Lance Dunn is one of them. Senior long snapper James Fisher, also on the preseason game. Senior defensive end Greg Menard, senior defensive tackle Nate Tangway, Nick DeLuca, who is back after injury, Trey Dempsey is back, and junior safety Robbie Grimsley, all voted to that Missouri Valley Football Conference preseason team by the league's coaches, sports information directors, and by the media. Wide receivers Darius Shepard, R.J. Urzendowski, and offensive lineman Austin Kunert, each are honorable mention for North Dakota State. North Dakota State returns 16 starters for the Bison, who are 55-6 at home since 2010. NDSU has won 54 of its last 56 games over non-conference opponents. They had a string of 45 in a row before last year's semifinal loss at James Madison. That is your Herdline News for today, September 2nd, 2017. So many unknowns for North Dakota State, and the Bison have to figure out well, what they know for this year, and this year is, again, less than a half an hour away from starting. Chris Klieman has his group ready to go. I had a chance to visit with the Bison head coach while he was in the hallway. Let's take a look at that interview now. Chris, it's been 260 days since you lost in this. Chris, it's been 260 days since you lost in this building. How much of that plays into this game? Has that been eaten away to get going again, or what's your thoughts on that?
Nothing. There are no thoughts on it. It's a 2017 Bison. What the 2016 team did was phenomenal. Didn't finish it, but in the same respect, it's a new group of guys. We don't even look back. You always look forward, and our kids are excited about seeing where this team can take it this year.
There's a lot I'm sure you want to see today, but if you can focus on 2 or 3 things as the head coach of NDSU, what are you focusing on? What do you want to get out of your guys today?
Well, one, the line of scrimmage. Are we able to win the line of scrimmage both sides of the ball? Secondly, the efficiency in our passing game. And lastly, our ability to make plays in space. They have some tremendous athletes on the other side of the ball, and whether that's on special teams or on defense, can we tackle in space?
Chris, good luck this afternoon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ryan.
See you at halftime.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that what we're doing before when we come off?
Coach, as his team gets ready for the 2017 season, North Dakota State, they warmed up a little bit earlier. A couple of players on the football field for the Bison. For Mississippi Valley State, they are on the field warming up in their road gray uniforms. Pretty good look there for the Delta Devils. The thing is, they have only won 1 football game last year, 1 football game the year before, and North Dakota State doesn't have a lot of tape on Mississippi Valley State. The Delta Devils coming from the SWAC conference, where they'll admit they are trying to compete for a conference title. They get a huge test this week at North Dakota State to try to figure out exactly where they are at. And for North Dakota State, it is all about building depth now. It'll be interesting how the Bison coaches work that depth in. Last year, they couldn't get a lot of depth early in the season because they were in such tight football games. You think about that Charleston Southern game, the Eastern Washington game. Those were close football games, and NDSU didn't get a lot of subs in. Fast forward to the end of the year last year, and Chris Klieman told us plenty of times we weren't as deep as James Madison was. That was a factor in the loss. This year, the Bison want to get deep. It'll be interesting to see how many sub players, how many second and even third string players NDSU tries today to try to get themselves deeper for this football game. Game time is just around the corner. We are just heating up as North Dakota State gets ready for their first game in 2017. NDSU and Mississippi Valley State around the corner. We'll head to the studio. When we come back, it is the Bison pregame show. We're back after this.
We will get to football here in just about 15 minutes. Welcome back inside our Fargo studios as we get you set for the Bison kicking off the 2017 season against Mississippi Valley State. Let's get into a player that we think is going to have an impact today, and that is running back Ty Brooks. He's an explosive player.
You know, okay, so here's my thinking. I know typically here we put
we're
somebody.
We're going to look at Easton. We're going to look at Nick DeLuca,
yes,
Nate Tangway.
Yes, we know that these guys, you know, have to have big days. But I think today is a perfect opportunity to talk about Ty Brooks. He's a guy who I think is going to get a lot of looks. I think he's going to have the opportunity to make a difference in this game. And I think they're going to try and get him out into some open space. He's a guy that has had some good work on special teams, but he's been a little excited. He's gotten a little pushy out there with a couple of guys, but I think he's matured a lot over the offseason, and I'm really excited to see what he's able to do to kind of raise his stock as that number 3 running back this year.
We already know what the Bison have in terms of running backs with Bruce Anderson and Lance Dunn. So this could be a nice coming out party for the Fargo South product.
Get him some space, let him free. I think he's got at least 1 touchdown today. And beyond that, I think he's crucial for the Bison to have on the football field, to have out there for their special teams. The Bison have had way too many starters playing in those key roles on special teams these last few years. You can't have Nick DeLuca out there on punt coverage or kick coverage or whatever it is. We need to be able to mix this stuff up.
You bring up Nick DeLuca's name, and the Bison will get Nick DeLuca back. This is a bonus year for him after he got hurt on this play in the first game last year. We hope to not see a repeat of that. This was against Charleston Southern. He injured his shoulder. He was able to play against Eastern Washington and against Iowa, but then he took that medical red shirt and is now back for his 6th season.
6th season. He says he's stronger than ever. He says he feels good. He says there's no hesitation out there. Now, of course, this is the first game, but and the first time he's going to take some contact because they're not letting anybody get a hit on Nick DeLuca at Bison football practice. But he says he's ready, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what he does outside.
Yes, he's also moving position from inside linebacker to outside linebacker. So when we talked to him earlier in the fall camp, he said, you know, it's kind of exciting. I would feel kind of bored if I had to keep learning middle linebacker.
Who says that, right? He's going to be bored playing the same position he's committed his life to.
Right.
He's excited for the challenge. I love hearing that. That's the kind of player I want on my football team.
Yeah, so he moves outside. Matt Plank stays inside, and then we'll have to see Chris Board probably on the other outside linebacker spot, but there's also Jabril Cox, a redshirt freshman.
He's a dude.
Is a dude. You're going to want to keep your eye out
Real
for
blunt.
him.
He's a dude.
He is a dude.
Came back a man this year.
He certainly did. Another guy that the Bison will get back from injury who suffered one against Youngstown State. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the show.
One of our favorites.
He is one of our favorites. If you get a chance to talk to Nate Tangway, you're going to...
He makes my personality look like none. Seriously, this guy's absolutely the best, and he's crucial on the football team. Not just in the locker room, not just in a leadership role. He's crucial to this football team, just the energy and the passion that he brings out there.
He suffered a season-ending knee injury just about 9 months ago against Youngstown State. So to have Nate back on the field will certainly help bolster that defensive line because, well, there's some other injuries as well on that defensive line that we'll get to in just a moment.
And Tanguay's really, talking to him this week, his only hang-up, he says, is it takes a lot longer to warm up. He made a joke that you got to put some WD-40 on his knee to get him out there. He says it takes a good 10 minutes, some heat, some real good stretching to get him out there. But once he's out there, he says he feels great.
And he says that this year he feels like the defense is just phenomenal because of all the experience that they have. And that's what he said to us earlier in the week.
I feel like, sophomore year and then junior year last year, I mean, we still had some, young guys in new positions and everything. But this year, I mean, everybody's a vet now. I mean, there's no reason why we can't have a great season on defense.
So Nate Tanguay back in the lineup for the Bison because he will be a very, very vital piece, especially in the middle there as the defensive line is going to have to go through some changes.
I think it's still down the road. I think we still see limited numbers from Tanguay and DeLuca today.
Certainly today we'll like to see him just make sure that he can get out there and play tackle football once again and make sure that there are no issues with that knee and that he can, play at the level that he is expected, especially when we get to conference play and there are going to be some very tough matchups for him.
Eastern Washington.
Well, all right, Eastern Washington as well. Didn't you hear, Gellner? We don't need to look east or west.
Well, the coaches are, so I am.
What?
How about
what
that?
Coaches are looking ahead.
They're looking ahead.
Respect
Come on.
your opponent, Beth Hool. If you don't respect them, they could sneak up and bite you.
All right.
That's just football 101 right there.
Okay, so what are the Bison doing today then? If they're going to go along with my game plan of resting some of these guys, we're going to look at some fresh numbers in there. We're going to see some different guys.
We are going to see some different guys, and it's not just because Mississippi Valley State is a one-win team from a year ago, but there was also some injuries as well, and one of the big ones was All-American Greg Menard, who injured his knee in fall camp, and this was certainly a big loss for the Bison. He has undergone surgery already. He's got his red shirt available. He's going to return for his senior year, his redshirt senior year, if you will, next year. But man, losing Greg Menard hurts on this defensive line.
He's a pass rushing just fanatic. I mean, he's textbook. He's everything you could ever want in a guy. But you know what? And I don't want to make light of Greg Menard and his impact on this team. I can't wait to have him back next year. But there's a lot of really strong guys still on this team, especially when you start talking Tuska brothers.
Yes.
Come on, those guys. I mean, little Tuska, he can get after it. As good as Greg Menard, as good as Kyle Emanuel, as good as any of them. I think by the end of his career, he's got your sacks record.
We've heard certainly some good things from the coaching staff about the Tuska brothers and what they can bring to the table. But another thing is, because of Greg Menard's injury, we're expecting to see a few players that maybe we wouldn't have seen in this freshman class.
Exactly. And now on Monday, Coach Klieman told us all Spencer Wagee. He said, Spencer Wagee, get ready, kids out of South Dakota. He's a big dude. He said he's made a lot of great progress throughout fall camp and that he was just separating himself. But as the week has gone on, a lot of other names have come up, primarily Logan McCormick at defensive end. Now, this is a guy who comes out of Colton Heagles High School. If you can't pick a better pedigree, I mean, come on. Colton Heagle, it was just a phenom for the Bison when it came to defense. And this guy's out of his home state, out of his high school. He hasn't lost a game in high school. So he brings in a strong pedigree in terms of winning and experience and understanding what it means to be part of a winning program. Now, expecting to see a little bit of him today, as well as Josh Hayes. Now, you want to talk about high schools and Bison experience? Lakeland, Florida, Alex. Does that one sound familiar to you?
Does sound to be a little bit familiar. That's where we get to see the likes of Trey Dempsey coming from Lakeland, Florida. So yes, we're going to see some new faces.
And these are just a couple of the names.
Right.
These are just a couple of names. No guarantees that they're coming out, but keep an eye out for these guys because you could see them. You could see their red shirts pulled, and you could see them making an impact because the Bison aren't going to pull a red shirt on a guy unless they expect him to make an impact.
Yeah, somewhere in that 5 to 15 plays. That's what
And again, Alex, special teams. These are guys who are big guys. They're strong guys. They came in well-developed that can, again, make an impact where they need it most, and that's depth and rest for those starters.
That is the big thing. Let's get back out to the tailgate lot. We've got some more money to give away. Yeah. Mike Morkin has the greatest job. We see him in the tailgate lot. Mike?
All right, thank you. We're back out here in the tailgate section. You know how we play the game. It's tailgate trivia. My next contestant here is?
Jenya Golickson.
Jenya, where are you from?
I'm from Pearly, but technically, originally, I'm from Siberia, Russia.
What brought you here?
I got adopted with my 2 sisters.
How are the winters? Are they worse than Siberia?
Kinda.
Kinda. Oh, whoa, whoa.
It's Minnesota, so.
Okay. All right, let's play the game, okay? What conference does the NDSU Bison play in right now? Is it the Missouri Valley Conference or the North Central Conference? And you can help her out.
Missouri.
Missouri Valley Conference is correct. Congratulations. And here's your prize. It's a $50 gift card to Lucky's 13 Pub. Congratulations. All right. My next contestant is?
Charlie Butts.
Charlie, where are you from?
Harwood, North Dakota.
Okay, Charlie, you know how we play the game, right?
Yep.
Here's the question for you. What team does the NDSU Bison play for the Dakota Marker? Is it the South Dakota State Jackrabbits or is it the South Dakota Coyotes?
The Jackrabbits.
It is the Jackrabbits. Is it correct? Wow, way to go, Charlie. Charlie, you win a $50 gift card to the True Blue Social Club over in West Fargo. So congratulations. Congratulations. That's how easy it is to play, and that's how easy it is to win. We're having some fun out here in the tailgate section. Back to the studio.
All right, thank you very much, Mike Morgan, and a few more lucky winners to Lucky's 13 and True Blue Social Club. We are 7 minutes and 50 seconds away from getting you out to the Fargodome on our Coors Light countdown clock. Stay with us. We'll get our final thoughts here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
5 minutes to go on our Coors Light countdown clock till we get you out to the Fargodome. And Blind Joe kicking us off. We've got a new open to our football games this year. Blind Joe updated the song for us. If you liked it from last year, we've got a new one for you, and it's available to download too on like iTunes and the Google Play Store. So if you can find it, yeah, definitely give that a listen and blare it at your tailgates or blare it out your home after the Bison score some touchdowns today.
There you go.
We are excited to get you out to the Fargodome and get the 2017 season underway. But first, we're going to go back out there, and we're going to get the guys' final thoughts. We'll start with Ryan Gellner. Ryan?
Thank you, guys. My final thoughts are really, what are we going to see in this football game? And for me, it's defensively. How fast can North Dakota State be on defense? It's an early season test, but it's a perfect opponent to see where the pressure comes on defense. Of course, Nick DeLuca is back. It'll be interesting to watch him and his game speed. But really, for me, it's the keys are the defensive ends. How fast can they get to the quarterback? Where does this pressure come from? That's really what I'll watch during this early season football game. Brian and LT, your keys from the game from up top.
All right, yeah, final thoughts for me. I think I'm excited to see how the offensive line performs and to see a lot of different combinations on the field today. We know a lot of young guys are in the mix, but we also know there's some veterans that may be switching positions as well. So that's what I'll be looking for today.
Well, my final thoughts are in the season opener, you hope for a good game. And generally, we think a good game is a close game. The chances of this being a close game are it's not. It's just not happening. So, Bison fans, readjust what you think a good game is, at least through the two deep, maybe deeper. 3-4 guys, if they all play well, no big injuries, that would be a good game.
All right, thank you very much, guys. We'll hear from them in just a few moments, 3 minutes until we get
what
them
are
back
your
out
final
there.
thoughts?
My final
thoughts, guys. We're doing final thoughts.
These are our final thoughts before we get you some football game play. That's great. All right, so my final thoughts, if you will. North Dakota State, 81-33-6 all-time in season openers, and they've won 11 of 13 as a Division I program, including last year's 24-17 overtime win against Charleston Southern. Those numbers improve, obviously, after today. Mississippi Valley State is playing a quarterback that is a freshman. He's not a freshman. He's a junior college transfer, but he's making his first career start for Mississippi Valley State, and I can guarantee you he has never played in an environment like the Fargodome.
That's right. We talk about how tough of an environment it is for seasoned veteran quarterbacks, guys who have done it before, guys who have been here, you know, their second time around as seniors who played as sophomores. When that happens, this is a tough place to play.
I think that the Bison are going to be just fine with today. And again, I would like to echo what LT said there. get out of here with no injuries.
That's
Let's
right.
get out of here and get out of with no injuries, because there is a big game on the horizon. So get your warm up here, and then we'll take our attention and turn it towards Eastern Washington. Your final thoughts,
Well,
Beth Hool.
Alex, my final thoughts, if I'm going to give you my final thoughts would be, I really want to see a point of emphasis that nobody has been talking about since Tim Polasek took off and Courtney Messingham was hired to replace him as offensive coordinator, and that's Connor Riley. Connor Riley is coordinator for the run game now. I want to see how that changes things. He's got an offensive line with some guys that he's had to fill some holes with, but nobody knows the offensive line better than him, which means nobody knows what they're capable of, just like Connor Riley does. And I'm excited to see how this changes the run game. I think we start to see the greatest run game that Bison football has ever seen. I'm saying it. I'm putting my money on it right now. I want to see what this run game is capable of. I think we see it go to new heights.
We're saying a couple 1,000-yard rushers. That's what you're saying?
I'm saying the greatest ever. I'm saying best you've ever seen. I think Bruce Anderson is as strong as he's ever been. He's figured out who he is and his identity as a runner. Lance Dunn looks really good. And you've got, as we said, Ty Brooks coming up the ranks. I think Demarius Purifoy is going to find it. I think this will be the most dynamic run game yet in Bison football history.
Look at Beth Hool kicking off the 2017 season with a bang, with a bold statement
Kicking
there.
it
I
off.
don't think anybody saw you kick. We got a desk
Kicking
in
it off.
All right. That's going to do it for us. We are going to get you back out to the Fargodome. We thank you so much for joining us here in our Fargo studios. Wherever you're watching, make sure you stay through the game. We'll get Coach Klieman's reaction from the game at halftime, and we'll see you at halftime, get you updated on this one, and get you caught up on some scores around the Missouri Valley Conference, and maybe we'll take a peek at Eastern Washington.
Because we're looking ahead at Eastern
Washington.
Washington.
Might be looking ahead. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go out to the Fargodome. Blind Joe, please take it away.